Greetings children, this video lesson is for class 12 Cbse students. The lesson we are going to learn in this video is the last poem from your book Flamingo, that is And Jennifer's Tigers. This is a high volt criticism of patriarchal society of the last century. The married woman, she has to face so many restrictions, so many constraints, so many limitations in her own life, in her own family. And the poet desires for freedom. For that, she creates certain images. That images talk to us what are her deep desires in her mind. The poem is very relevant even today. Our society is even now a male-dominated society. So this poem requests for equality of the sexes, at least in the married life. Now let us move on to the poem. This is the last poem from Flamingo textbook, Aunt Jennifer's Tigers, about the poet. ANDRIEN was born in Baltimore, Maryland, USA. She is widely known for her involvement in contemporary women's movement as a poet and theorist. She has published 19 volumes of poetry, 3 collections of essays and other writings. A strong resistance to racism and militarism echoes through her work. The poem And Jennifer's Tigers addresses the constraints of married life a woman experiences. Constraints here means limitations. The limitations and the restrictions of a woman that she has to face in her married life. That is the central idea behind this poem And Jennifer's Tigers. First, I will read the poem for you. And Jennifer's tigers prance across a screen. Bright topaz denizens of a world of green. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. They pace in sleek chivalric certainty. Come to the second stanza. And Jennifer's fingers fluttering through her wool find even the ivory needle hard to pull. The massive weight of Angle's wedding band sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. Come to the last stanza. When Aunt is dead, her terrified hands will lie, still ringed with the ordeals she mastered by. The tigers in the panel that she made will go on prancing, proud and unafraid. Now let us understand the poem. Aunt Jennifer's tigers, they are prance across a screen. So Aunt Jennifer's tigers, the tigers are Aunt Jennifer's. And what the tigers doing? They are prancing. Prancing means walk with majestic steps or parading. They are walking high steps. Where? Across a screen. So they are not the real tigers, they are the pictures made on a screen, a panel, a cloth. So they are prancing, they are walking across a screen. So these tigers are knitted by or embroidered, or you can say that weaved by this woman and Jennifer. And her tigers are prancing proudly across the screen. Then she says, bright topaz denizens. Who are these bright topaz denizens? They are the tigers made by Aunt Jennifer. Bright topaz. Topaz here means a jewel, a bright yellowish jewel thing. These tigers are. They are the topaz denizens. Denizens means the residents, or you can call the inhabitants. The inhabitants of a world of green. A world of green. That is the natural habitat of tigers, the forest, the green forest. They are not simply animals. They are bright topaz. They are bright jewels. The yellow jewel in the green background. The sense of color combination, and that gives these tigers a majestic look, a bright, a powerful look. They are prancing across the screen like the topaz that we kept against the green world. These tigers are. Look at the next line. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. The poet introduces one word here, that is fear. They do not fear. Who do not fear here? The tigers. The tigers made by Aunt Jennifer. They do not fear the men. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. In the panel, you can see not only the tigers, they are prancing across it, but at one side, a tree is there, and beneath the tree, some men are there. The tigers are not afraid of these men. Maybe the men, the hunters. That's why the poet says they are not afraid of. They do not fear. They are not scared of the men standing beneath the tree. They are prancing. Look at the next line. They pace in sleek chivalric certainty. They are pacing in, moving in, speedily moving, with majestic steps, with royal steps. They are moving in sleek chivalric certainty. Look at the adjectives used here for representing the tigers. They are chivalric certainty. Chivalric means very courageous. gallant. And certainty means they are confident. So they are gallant and confident. These two qualities of the tigers give them the sleek characteristics. Sleek means shiny. They are shining like what? The topaz. They are shining like topaz in the green world. Why do they shine? Because they are chivalric. At the same time, they are confident. They are so courageous, gallant. Chivalric is a word that we used for expressing our courage, double courage. When we see in somebody utmost courage, we call that chivalric. And these tigers are chivalric. Not only chivalric, they are confident. So they sleek, they shine like topaz. That is the beauty of the poem. That's why the poet says that they are the topaz inhabitants of a green world. Come to the next stanza. Aunt Jennifer's fingers fluttering through her wool. Now we get the character of Aunt Jennifer. Who is this Aunt Jennifer? In the first stanza, the poet, do you know who is the speaker here? It is anonymous, or you can call the speaker as the niece or nephew. Niece or nephew. Because the speaker addresses the character as aunt. Only a niece or nephew can call the character as aunt. So either niece or nephew, or you can say that it is anonymous. In the first stanza, the speaker says about the characteristics of the picture that Aunt Jennifer knitted. They are chivalric certainty. They are topaz denizens. They are prancing across the screen. They are fearless creatures. They move royally across the screen without showing any fear of the men standing beneath the tree. Now, in the second stanza, the poet says that, the speaker says that Aunt Jennifer's fingers fluttering through her wool. Fluttering means that is shaking through her wool. Wool means the panel. The panel in which she weaving the picture of tigers. As she is doing the work of embroidery, her fingers are fluttering. They are shaking heavily. She can't do her work with confidence. She is not chivalric like the tigers. She is meek and she is coy. She is hesitant. She can't do her work without shivering her fingers. That is what the speaker says. And Jennifer's fingers fluttering through her wool find even the ivory needle hard to pull. She is using a most sophisticated tool of an ivory needle. It is easy to piece through the wool, but even that ivory she finds very hard to pull. It is very hard to pull. She can't do it in an easy way. She feels some nervousness. She feels certain nervousness and anxiety in her. That's why she can't pull the ivory needle through the wool. Look at the next line. The massive weight of Uncle's wedding band. What a heavy line it is. The entire reason for her fluttering fingers and the fearless tigers is brought out through this simple line. The massive weight of Uncle's wedding band. Wedding band here means the ring. The wedding ring. Whose wedding ring? Uncle's. Who is this uncle? Anne's husband. His wedding band, his wedding ring. That is a heavy weight for Aunt Jennifer. The massive weight. How does the wedding band become a massive weight for this woman? And that massive weight causes the fluttering fingers, the ordeals, the family chores that she has to perform every day in her life. And this uncle, he is a terrifying husband for her. That is the presentation of the massive weight of Uncle's wedding band that sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. This massive weight sits heavily, burdensome for the aunt to bear. That still sits in Aunt Jennifer's hands. That is the reason why she can't do the work of tapestry with ease. Her fingers are fluttering. Her fingers are shaking very well. She cannot do it in an easy way. The massive weight of Uncle's wedding band sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hands. So look at the contrastive picture of the woman in the second stanza and her creation in the first stanza, the tigers. The tigers are very strong creatures. They are chivalric and confident. They never fear anything in their habitat. But the woman in her own home, she can't do even her favorite work without fear. She is not confident. She feels it is so hard for her to pull the ivory needle through her wool. The reason for that is her married life becomes a burdensome, heavy weight for her. Her married life was not at all a successful one. She has been subjected for several terrifying experiences from her husband, the uncle. He is the owner of that wedding ring. That's why The speaker says, uncle's wedding band. The owner of that wedding band is the uncle. And indirectly, the speaker says that he owns his wife through the wedding ring. That's why the poet says, the speaker says, the uncle's wedding band sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. Come to the last stanza. When Aunt is dead, her terrified hands will lie still ringed with ordeals she was mastered by. When Aunt is dead. From the present, the speaker takes us to the future. When this aunt is dead, her terrified hands will lie still ringed with. Once this woman will die, and still her terrified hands. Look at the progression of the fear from first stanza to the last. Here we see that the fear, they do not fear. The fear in the poem that has gradually increased, and when we reached at the third stanza, it becomes a terrified thing. That terror sits in her hands even after she will die. That will lie still ringed with. Ringed with means surrounded with the ordeals. The ordeals she was mastered by. In her life, she mastered only by the ordeals. And who mastered her all these ordeals? Her husband. So here, the poem implicitly suggests that to master something, there should be a subject. Here, a slave, a master and a slave. The relationship between these two are something like, the relationship between the two is something like a master-slave relationship. He terrifies her in each and every situation of their life. That's why the poem says, even after her death, she will not be freed from what she has mastered. When the poet says that the terrified hands, we get the idea that the anxiety in the woman is escalating from the first stanza to the third. When aunt is dead, look at here. Still now, the poet says Aunt Jennifer. When it comes in the third stanza, the poet says only aunt. And she is terrified. Why it is simply aunt? Because she has lost her identity. She is not simply Aunt Jennifer. It is all the aunts, maybe. She has lost her identity by leading an oppressive life with her husband. So even after her death, the terrified experiences surrounded with her ringed with her. She has no freedom from that ordeals of her married life. She has to face so many constraints, so many limitations, so many restrictions, so many limits in her married life. She doesn't have any freedom. She doesn't have any opinion of her own. And finally, when she reaches at the end of her life, she has lost her identity there. No identity is there for her. That's why the speaker says, the ant. When ant is dead, she has lost her name there, and she becomes a terrified thing. And she is surrounded with that ordeals she has experienced in her married life. Come to the next stanza. The tigers in the panel that she made will go on prancing, proud and unafraid. She might die with the fear, with the bad experiences in her life, with the ordeals in her life. But her creation, even though she dies with the terrifying experiences in her life, her creation will continue. Which here means that the tigers in the panel that she made will go on prancing, proud and unafraid. So many women would come and long for this freedom in their life. So this freedom, the desire for freedom will exist even after the death of and. The women in the coming generations will desire for such freedom in their life, especially in their married life. That is why the poet says that the tigers in the panel that she made will go on prancing, proud and unafraid. That will continue. The death of an ant will not stop the desire for freedom that women want. They want an equal status in a married life. The poem is written in 1951 when divorce is not in practice. Once married, they couldn't break it, so they want freedom. They want freedom from unhappy marriages. They want freedom from the unhappy marriages. That is the expression, that is the need, that is the want the poet puts forward through. Now we can look the literary devices used in the poem and Jennifer's Tigers. To know the literary devices in each and every poem is very important because the MCQ's questions can be asked from this part of the lesson. Let us check what are the important poetic devices used in it. The first poetic device is rhyme scheme. To find out the rhyme scheme, you have to go to the lines. The ending sound of each line you have to notice. If you notice clearly, you can see that n sound, screen, green, n. So the same sound repeats in the first and the second lines. So you can represent it with the alphabet A. Then tree and certain T. Then E and E, certain T, E, certain T, T, E. E sound repeats, so you can represent it as B, B. So the rhyme scheme of the poem is A, B, B. Like that, you can see every line in the poem is a repetition of the first line. So this poem is written in rhyming couplets. Rhyming couplets. Couplets means 2 lines. Let us check other literary devices. Fingers fluttering. The repetition of the sound F, that is consonant sound. It is called alliteration. The repetition of consonant sound in a single line is called alliteration. Look at here. Prancing proud. Repetition of consonant sound, that is alliteration. So 2 places in the poem alliteration is used. Come to next. The massive weight of Uncle's wedding band. Here we can see the use of hyperbole. So hyperbole is an exaggerated saying of something. It could not be massive weight. A wedding band could not be a thing of massive weight. So it is exaggerated. Such exaggerated sayings in literature is known as hyperbole. Come to the next. Terrified hands. In this usage, we can see 2 literary devices. One is synecdoche. Synecdoche. Synecdoche means a part is put for the whole. Here, the hands represents the whole and Jennifer. So, synecdoche is the literary device used there. Another literary device used in the same phrase is transferred epithet. Transferred epithet. Because here the term terrified, it is a modifier that does not qualify the hand. It qualifies the person. So, mismatchingly used here. The adjective is mismatchingly used here. So we can say that it is transferred epithet. Transferred epithet. The usage terrified. Then come to this line. Still ringed with. The ordeal she was mastered by. Ringed is sounded like the wedding ring. Actually, it means surrounded with the ordeals, but it sounds like ringed, the wedding band. So we can say that the poetic device of pun is used there. Beyond this, so many symbols are used in the poem, like the tigers. They symbolizes the desire of and Jennifer. Then we have that another symbol is wedding band, that is a symbol of marriage. Then the panel, that is a representation of the oppressed desires of and Jennifer. Like that, so many poetic devices are used in this poem. Look at this second stanza. In the second stanza, we can see the use of paradox. The weak and terrified Aunt Jennifer, she is making wonderful pictures, the majestic pictures of the tigers. So here we can see the literary device of paradox used here. So these are some of the literary devices used in this poem. To know more about other poems and literary devices, subscribe the channel and press the bell icon. You will get notification on time. Thank you.